The Thornback ray is so named for the barbs that run along its tail and are native to European coastal waters. They are near threatened in the wild, and so it's a great achievement for the Blue Reef Aquarium in Portsmouth to have bred one in captivity. So I went to see how this new arrival was getting on. The Blue Reef Aquarium in Portsmouth is more than just a tourist attraction. They're also part of a captive breeding programme to help conserve endangered or threatened species. And now one of their most recent success stories is ready to meet the public.
So we're really excited to actually have her in this display now, because we've had her here since she was born about 18 months ago. She was actually hatched from an egg, and then we've had her in one of our quarantine facilities for the last 18 months whilst we're waiting for her to be big enough that we can then be happy to move her into the main population. Unfortunately, in the wild, rays aren't very caring, loving parents, and the babies are born or hatched and then they'll swim off. And if a ray sees something that is small enough to fit in its mouth, it's not going to take the time to figure out if it's the thing that it's just given birth to or not. It's probably just going to try and eat it, unfortunately. So we have to make sure that she's big enough that she can compete for the same size of food as the adults, and also not be potentially a candidate for being food herself. And these guys are near threatened, not too endangered, but a bit threatened compared to some of the other species that we have around the UK and in this tank in general. Obviously, rays being very, very flat, it's a very, very useful trick of their evolution, that means it's very easy for them to bury themselves. They've got these individual spots of colour to blend in with the individual bits of gravel. This Thornback here as well has got these ridged, spiky, thorny bits on the tail, which gives her a name, which also give her more defence from coming down on top, and also help to break up her texture a little bit as well and improve her camouflage further. They're very closely related to sharks as well. We've got some similar kind of camouflage. We've got a few different sharks in this tank as well. We're hoping to tell people a lot more about them now as well, now that we've got this new ray on display as well. With our new event coming up this summer as well with Jurassic Shark, we're celebrating all things to do with sharks and rays and some of the really amazing examples that we've got in the tanks at the moment. And one of my favourite things about them is that their fins are referred to as wings for that very reason. They do sort of look like they are floating through the water. People often rush to have a look at the rays from up the top here with this viewing platform. I always tell people that the best way to see them is from down here. If you duck down and have a look at the world from the rays' point of view, from the side there, and as you say, you can see them flying through the water quite gracefully, and they're really beautiful fish.
Being born in the wild is full of dangers for a young ray, but even being born in captivity doesn't guarantee survival.
We were lucky enough to have 2 eggs at the start from the Thornbacks as well. Unfortunately, the other one that did hatch didn't survive more than a couple of weeks. She wasn't growing anywhere near as fast as this one, so that was a bit sad to see her go quite early on. But this one has been doing really, really well by comparison. She's throwing her weight around a little bit now that she's settled down in the tank, now that she's figured out that she's in a nice, safe, new, big environment that she can explore. She's been really, really active. Although it is a myth that fish do grow to the size of their enclosure, she'll certainly be growing a lot more now that she's got a lot more food to access as well, that she gets a much bigger size, and she's being able to have that little bit of extra competition with her food. Allows them to develop that much better as well.
So how important is it that places like the Blue Reef are involved with breeding and conservation?
It's essential as well, not only just for animals who are threatened, but for animals in general, that we want to make sure that things aren't being taken from the wild to just be put on display, if it can be avoided. We want things to be bred here and shown here, that what we're doing to actually breed these animals, and especially things that are endangered, of course, it's really, really essential to make sure that people can see these things and learn about them and know that they exist and know that they are in danger potentially, and know what can they do to help, or at the very least learn a few interesting things about them in a way that they may not necessarily be able to normally.
This is Richard Stringer for That's TV.